everyone and welcome. This is Chloe with Cousin D.I.Y. Today I'm going to show you how to make a floss tassel hanging chandelier. It's bright and colorful and cheerful to look at. I'm going to get set up and let's get started. The first step is to remove all the metallic strands, and I chose not to use the black strand, so I removed that, which will leave you with 29 different colored strands of floss. I'm going to teach you how to make a tassel. The first step is to go into the loops on one end of the strand. I'm using a bead reamer, but you could also use like a skewer. And you just want to, if you can see here, you want to make sure that you're getting all the strands separated that would be in the circle, because we're going to open this up into a circle. And we're going to do the same on the other end. I want to make sure that we're not missing. Okay, now that we've done that, I'm going to take the paper off, and I can see that I've got two stragglers here. Take all the paper off. Okay. The next step is we're going to cut off a 6-inch length. We want to keep this in a nice circle. So I'm going to cut a 6-inch length. And a 16-inch length. 12. Let me measure that again. So we're going to separate this circle like this so our tails are hanging down evenly. And then we're going to take our 6-inch length of floss, we're going to put it right through the middle. Like so. And we're going to tie a double knot. Nice and snug, just 2 knots. Now the next step is to straighten this floss out. Take our 16-inch length of cord, and we're going to make a wrap loop underneath this knot just below where we joined the middle of the floss together. So to do that, I'm going to fold back, I guess this is like 1.5 inches, 2 inches. I'm going to take the tail. As you can see, the loop is facing down. I've got one end of the cord right here, the tail, and I'm going to take the long tail, and I am going to start wrapping around and around. When we're almost at the end, I find it helpful to use a pair of needle nose pliers, and I go back through that loop and I catch that tail, bring it through the loop, and then I pull. And what it does is it pulls the bottom part of that loop up into the wrap, so everything is nice and snug, and you just made the wrap for your tassel. The next step is to trim the tails, so we'll trim that little tail. Be careful that you don't trim this top part. I did that once or twice. And snip off the other end of the tail. Then we're going to go back into the middle of this circle of floss with our scissors. We're going to cut, and then I just make a little, just even it off for the time being. And we've made a tassel. It's that easy. The 6-inch ring needs 44 tassels. The 8-inch ring will need 60 tassels. And the 10-inch ring needs 84 tassels. So we have a total of 188 tassels that we will need to make this project. I'm going to show you how to attach a tassel. You take the 2 tails on the top, and I tied 2 knots, trying to make sure the knot rested right on top or on the inside of the ring. Make another one. Then I take that part of the tail, and come down around the ring, and I'm going to make a knot right on top of the tassel, and then I'm going to make another knot. I want to make sure our tassels aren't going to fall off the rings. The next step is to place a little dab of glue, and this glue has a real fine point nozzle. This glue has a fine tip nozzle, and it dries clear, so you won't see this glue after it dries. There, put a nice little dab, work it in. I use my fingers sometimes. And at this point, you can trim the tails. As you can see, that will hang nicely. I'm going to make 43 more, and I'm going to attach them all the way around the edge, and I'll be right back. Now that I have them all made and attached, I've already given them a little trim. The next step is to spread them out around your ring. And comb them out. I used a wide tooth comb. And at this point, they slide. You're still able to slide them if you find that they're not spaced evenly around the ring, because you want them spaced pretty evenly. Go around, make sure they're spaced evenly. Keep combing them out. And then at this point, take a ruler, and you're going to measure. You want, as you can see, from the ring to the bottom of the tassel, if they're not already even, which they probably won't be, you're going to go around and you're just going to trim each tassel all the way around so they're 6 inches. as I told you, we attached 44 to this ring. And what I did is I made an order out of my tassels before I attached them. I started with one color, and then I ended with another, and then I just repeated the pattern until I had a total of 44 tassels. So I'm going to do the same thing on the 8-inch ring. I'm going to attach 60, and on the 10-inch ring, I'm going to attach 84. I'm going to lay them down, spread them out, check the length, trim them to 6 inches all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. Well, actually, I won't be right back. That'll take me a few minutes. Now that we have all of our tassels attached to our 3 rings, we're going to start making the tiers. We're going to start with the smallest ring, which is our 6-inch ring, and spread all the tassels out all the way around. Comb them out as best you can. You can always comb more later, but next we're going to take our 8-inch and we're going to lay these out on top of those like so. Last but not least, the 10-inch. So I have pre-cut eight 3-inch lengths of chain. And we're going to use 8mm open jump rings to connect our chain. So between, so on our 6-inch ring, we're going to have a chain in between every 11 tassels, 4 of them, every 11. And our 8-inch chain will be the same between every 15 tassels, and our 10-inch chain will be between every 21 tassels. So I find it helpful to use 2 pairs of needle nose pliers while doing this. We'll comb it out more after we have everything attached and hanging. So I'm going to open up one of these jump rings, slide it through the bottom link of a length of chain, and then I'm just going to choose a spot and I'm going to securely close that jump ring around the metal ring. Next, I'm going to use another jump ring, and I'm going to slide that through an end of another length of chain. I'm going to slide it around the 8-inch ring, and I'm going to attach the end of the first chain that we connected and close that nice and snug. And the last step is to connect the other end of this length of chain to the 10-inch ring. Gotta make sure you open these wide enough to go around the ring. Doesn't really matter with this first set of chains where you attach them on each ring, but after this we're going to be counting. So come on, don't give me a hard time. There we go. I'm going to take another length of chain and jump ring. Through the last link, I'm going to count over 11 tassels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that will go there. Now we're going to count over 15 on the 8-inch from where we connected that first jump ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And so here we're going to connect the other end of that first length of chain and the end link on another length of chain, and we're going to close that nice and snug. Next, I'm going to count over 21 tassels from the first jump ring on the 10-inch metal ring. 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 21. And we're going to connect the end link of that previous length of chain. Oops. I'm going to do that 2 more times till we have all the chains connected. At this point, you can start to get an idea of what it's going to look like when it hangs. I'm going to slide this aside temporarily while we make the beaded strands that we're going to hang it from. So I've cut a 22-inch length of beading wire, and I'm going to use a bead stopper on the end. If you don't have a bead stopper, you can just make a little loop in the end of your wire like so, and that will also hold the beads on. But since I have these bead stoppers, they're very handy. Now, I am going to alternate these different colored flocked beads with these 12mm natural wooden rounds because I like the way they look. And natural wood beads are really trending right now. So I'm going to keep track of my order, and I'm going to make a total of 4 strands in the same order. Let's start with red. And you can change up your order, just any order that you like, any combination of beads that you like. But because we have so many colors of floss, I thought the more colors I could incorporate, the more colorful the whole end product would be. So I'm just going to go ahead and slide these on. Let me just dump these out. Hopefully they won't roll away. I've already had selected my beads. Now that we have all of our strands strung, we can start attaching them. We're going to use crimp tubes to attach one end of each strand to each of the 4 jump rings that are around the edges of the 10-inch ring. We want this to be really secure, so I am doubling up on my crimp tubes. I'm going to use 2 crimp tubes on each of the ends of all the strands. So there's 2 crimp tubes. I'm going to put that through. We want to make sure the jump ring is nice and snug so the wire won't slip up through the jump ring. So we can test that a little bit. Like so. Looks like it's nice and snug, and we're going to bring it back, that end of the wire back through the 2 crimp tubes. Slide them down so they're pretty close to that jump ring. Then we're going to use our crimping pliers to close each crimp. Then we're going to trim the little bit of tail. We're going to attach the other end of the wire using crimp tubes, 2 crimp tubes, to another 8mm jump ring that we've made sure is closed. Oops, let me make sure that's closed nice and snug. You don't want any gaps. Okay, the wire through the jump ring, back through the crimp tubes. And you want to get that pretty snug. Play with it. You want to get it pretty snug to the top bead, but you don't want it so snug that it's going to not let that strand drape nice and straight. So it can be helpful at this point to use your needle nose pliers to snug up that wire. Make sure it hangs nicely there. I'm pretty happy with that. We're going to want the end of each strand to have the same distance between the top jump ring and the top bead. So I'm just going to keep playing with this a little bit. There. Crimp each tube separately. Trim the tail of the wire. And I'm going to repeat that with all my strands, attaching them to the other 3 jump rings that are around my 10-inch ring. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, next we're going to open another jump ring, and we're going to connect the top jump ring on each strand. Go around in a circle here. To one end of this large gold chain. Then we're going to repeat that again with another jump ring right through the same, just to reinforce it so it'll be nice and strong. So we're going to go through our 4 jump rings again and through that last link of the large chain again and close that. There you go. So I'm going to comb this out, hang it up, and I'll be right back. As you can see, this project was not difficult to make. It's time consuming, but worth it. It would be a great weekend project. If you make your own floss tassel chandelier, we would love to see it. You can share it with us on Instagram at #CreateWithCousin. See you next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye.